from the Just an Opinion workbench. What you are looking at is the grip on a Springfield XDs. And as we pan back, and try to refocus here, you'll see that this is the frame only. So what are we doing with just the frame of a Springfield XDs? Okay, what we are going to do today with this Springfield XDs is apply or install Talon grips. These are the rubberized Talon grips, especially designed, of course, for this specific gun. Talon grips, if you're not familiar with them, are an overlay application that go over your existing grips. They come in two varieties. One is the sandpaper grit type, like skateboard tape, if you're familiar with that, and the other is this rubberized, which is a nicely textured and rubberized version, because there are times when you may prefer rubber over sandpaper, and this gun is probably among the classic examples of why you might want to use rubber rather than sandpaper, because the Springfield XDs, as you may know, is a very compact, almost micro 45 ACP, and it is designed primarily as a concealed carry gun. So that implies that they're very likely to have part of this grip, part of the frame rubbing against your skin, or your undergarments, etc. So sandpaper, it would be very uncomfortable, possibly downright painful, and also will accelerate wear to clothing. So you still want some better grip, but you can't use sandpaper. That takes us to the option B, which is the rubberized. Alright, so I've already done a couple videos on installing Talon grips, so I will try to be economical in my words, but still provide good instruction, because this may be the only video you've watched for installing a Talon grip. It may be the only one you care about in terms of which gun, so I'll try and be informative and descriptive and educational without being too boring, if I can pull that off. And I can always edit, so there may be some edits done to this video just to shorten it, cut to the chase, so to speak. What I'm doing now is applying an alcohol wipe. This is provided with the grip when you purchase the grip. The idea here is we want to make sure that we remove oil, grease, dirt, anything that is going to interfere with the adhesive and might prevent a good clean bond between the adhesive on the grip and the frame of the gun, which really for this purpose now becomes the substrate. Okay. Now, unlike Glock, I've done a couple Glocks, and you may or may not have seen those, but unlike the Glock, which is an application process that starts by beginning with the left side, wrapping around the back strap, and then going to the right side, Springfield is the Springfield XDs, and another application I have also done on a different gun is a front wrap rather than a rear wrap. So what this does is it's going to start on one side or the other, but wrap around the front rather than wrap around the back strap. Now, what I have done, and if you are going to install some Talon grips for the first time, or the first time on a specific type of gun, what I recommend is doing a dry run, or 2 or 3, before you remove the backing that it will expose the adhesive. I try and line it up, get a good idea what exactly I'm going to be dealing with when I do peel that strip, that backing off, and have adhesive ready to stick to the gun, I want to have a head start. I want to know what I'm up against. So I do a dry run as I'm doing now. And you can see that there are a couple points of interest here. One is, and the most noticeable, is the cutout for the XDS logo. And that's on both sides. So clearly we're going to want this Talon grip to lay properly so that it exposes that logo. And we want it to be nice and clean. We want it to be attractive looking. And so we want, you know, I'm almost certain that when I'm dealing with an adhesive issue here, there's going to be some readjustments. Now the next thing is there's a bit of a cutout right here that will go down into this detent, which is sort of a thumb rest type of area in the grip and the frame, and there's one of those on both sides, right? So the cutout exists on both sides as well. It's just sort of like a little bit of a half moon or smiley face type cutout to relieve that grip and let it sink down into that recess. We've got some open exposed areas here to let the very, very aggressive natural checkering on the XDS come through. And then lastly, we have the fingers, if you will, or tabs that are going to go along the back strap. Now, the way you want to install this is so that these tabs meet end to end. You do not want them to overlap, and currently they're overlapping. So if we were to install this right now, you can see that we have an overlap situation. So I'm going to need to trim these, and I want to try and trim them as close as possible while I still have the adhesive back on, just because it's going to be a little easier. So what I'm going to try to do, if I can, is line these up, cut them, trim them on a center line so that I'm taking an equal amount of material from both sides. So ideally what I would like is to have the seam of my back strap right down the center of the back strap as opposed to off one side or the other. Now there's kind of a lot going on here because we're lining up the XDS logo. We're trying to make sure we line up the other pieces that need to line up, such as the thumb rest detent. We want to make sure we're lined up around our magazine release button. There's a big notch for that. We want to make sure we're lined up around that. And then after we've done all those things, we want to try to deal with the backstrap material. So again, you can see there's kind of a lot going on. Now, one method that I think I will try, I'm going to try to make sure I'm going to try to keep this on camera. If I drift off camera, please forgive me, but the work right now is more important than the video. I replaced the backstrap that was on the gun when I bought it, which I presume would be the default backstrap for everyone, which was the large backstrap. Springfield also includes a small backstrap, and that is the one that I installed. So, sorry, we're going off camera a little bit. And I'm still going to have some trimming, so I just want to get them close. So I think for the moment I'm going to kind of stay happy with that. And what I may do is I may use what I've done here as a cut line. Come up here. Cut that clean. See if maybe I can cut this one. and this one. Now I'm taking a bit of a chance because if I do this wrong and screw it up really bad, it's not going to fit. It may not look right. Worst case scenario is I will have to go to Talon website and order a new grip. It won't be. It will not be the first time in my life I've had to do it over at my expense. So, all right. I think do one real quick more dry fit here. All right, that's going to be close. We're still going to have to trim a little bit. Uh-oh. What do you mean, uh-oh? Yeah, uh-oh. I think I definitely got a little overzealous on that. This one's going to overlap. Alright, so basically, I've kind of screwed up a little bit. The very top tab seems to now be very short. So I guess I did not need to trim. It almost looks like I didn't need to trim the top tab at all. So I'm not sure. It's going to be a little odd looking, but we'll see. We're going to see what happens. Okay. The next step is the no looking back point. I always recommend, my hand suddenly got a little dirty. I always recommend washing your hands first so that your hands are free of oil, mostly. We cleaned the frame and alright, we should be good to go. So, like I said, worst case scenario is I screw it up completely and Talon gets to sell another grip. Hopefully that won't be the case. Okay. Almost looks like a game scratch-off thing left on there. You win! Yeah, not quite. Okay. So, we've removed the backing from our adhesive. Now, I'm going to place as closely as I can to center, what looks like center. And now, I want to carefully adjust, and I can almost already tell that I'm way too high. Way too high. We want to come down. And to come down at least probably to about there. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, now let's start to adjust this, oops, over our XDS logo, because that's an important key point, sort of an anchor point, if you will. Alright, so that's looking decent. I also have a large magnifier here that I might pull over to look at this through. Not sure how that would work for you folks at home. That would be interesting. It would be pretty cool if you could, if we rigged it up so that you could see through the magnifier what I see through the magnifier. Right. Got a little reflection going on. Alright. I'm not going to worry too much about what you can see. I'm going to worry about what I can see. But that way you know what I'm doing. So I'm looking at it through the magnifier to just get it good and lined up. Now the thing I've noticed about Talon grips is you have a little time to get them positioned, lined, in many cases realigned, but you don't have all day. You know, that adhesive isn't necessarily going to just stay in great shape for an extended period of time. Now, working around to the other side, and again I need to line up the logo because that is a key point aesthetically. Normally I start with the bottom tabs. This time I'm going to start with the top tabs because I think the bottom are going to still need a little bit of a trim. These top ones do not. Boy, this middle pair, the middle pair of tabs might be my best. They look like they line up really nice. The top pair, I think I screwed them up when I cut. So now this pair, yeah, the bottom pair still needs a little bit of a trim. They're also not square, so I'm going to need to take a little bit of material off the bottom at an angle. I'm going to go into the magnifier here, forgive me. Okay. And alright. Try to zoom in a little bit more here. Give you a better look. Alright, that's coming together nicely actually. So it looks like, I don't know, the middle tab might be a little long. They might have a little overlap. And the thing about an overlap, you don't want an overlap because the overlap creates an area where it can peel, where it's more likely to peel. Going back under the microscope here. I definitely would recommend having access to, if possible, a magnifier of some type. Almost. Take just a little bit off the other side of the tab. I have a tendency to want it to be perfect, which is not always going to be the case, and sometimes you have to learn to live with that, but not without trying to get it perfect first. Damn it. Alright. So, okay, we've gotten rid of the overlap on the middle, and we still have a pretty good sizing there. They meet up pretty nicely. Now the top set, you can see that it's almost a V-shaped gap. I don't know how well that black against black is showing right here, but I might do a still close-up. It looks like that's showing up pretty well on camera, but that's a lot of that is my mistake for cutting this material away. See, that's one of the pieces I cut out of it, so or at least I think that was from that tab, but anyway. Alright, so you smush and you smush and you smush. Now a very important, very important part of the process is to heat it up and continue to smush, and so I'm going to do that. Okay, it's nice and warm. Wow, happiness really is a warm gun. Okay. This is molding into shape really nicely. Okay, that's the first hit with the heat. I'm just using a regular hair dryer. I set it on hot, and I was using a low fan because it's not about volume of air. We're not trying to dry hair. We're trying to apply a heat and get this nice and warm. We get it warm, we get it very pliable, and we want to use nice firm pressure with our fingers and our thumbs and just work all over. And again, I like to use the word smush. I think Talon, good people at Talon, if you are paying attention to me, if you can hear the sound of my voice, you need to incorporate the word smush into your instructions. Okay, that's working in very nicely. This is the fourth Talon grip I have installed or applied, however you prefer. And this is, so far, I think about the most complicated one. It wasn't hard. I would not qualify it as being hard, but it was more complex and there was more detail to it. I've worked with logo cutouts on my Smith & Wesson M&P, but they're round medallion type logos. So I had worked with that before. I had worked with the front wrap and back wrap, different styles before. I've worked with the tabs on the back strap and having to trim them. But this one, just overall, I guess maybe the combination of all those little things, and then add to that this is a small gun, so you're working with a smaller area, a smaller application. That's working in very nicely. We'll have to see how well that shows up on the video, but can you see? It looks like you can. You can see that the natural grip. You see the natural grip, the natural checkering on the grip of an XDS, if you are not familiar with an XDS, is very aggressive. It's very aggressive checkering, very deep, very pronounced, and it's starting to come through. If you can see that, get it in the light a certain way. There we go. Look at that. You see that checkering coming through, and on the sides, and we've got these two cutouts that Talon put in the grip, so you get an idea. You can see what I'm talking about with the aggressive checkering there, and you can see how it's coming through. Now this is one heat application, so I'm going to do at least one more. I might do two more. Two more? It's not a two more. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. Alright, I'm going to try heat one more time. Difficulty level about the middle of the scale. Not not horribly difficult. The most difficult of the four different Talons that I've applied to different guns so far, just because of some of the detail work here, going around the logos, going around these cutouts, getting these tabs properly trimmed to fit the back strap. And again, I have the small back strap. The large back strap, they may need very little trimming at all. I have a suspicion they would still need some. I kind of botched that a little bit on the top set of tabs, so it's not perfect looking. not as nice as I would like, but I can live with it. And I guess that is about it. I've used the hairdryer twice on it to heat it up, and I just sort of continue to smush on it. Smushing is that's the official term. It's a technical term. Now we've got it really nicely in there. Okay, so let me put the slide on this, make it look like a pistol. Probably should do it right side up. Okay, now how's that look? How does that look now? Good. I like it. I like it a lot. Talon recommends that you periodically wipe the outside of the rubber grip with alcohol. I have done that with my my other one that has rubber grips on it, the Smith & Wesson, and I definitely agree with them. It makes a big difference. Probably every time you clean your gun, make that the last step after you've reassembled the firearm. Just take that alcohol and just sort of clean that grip, and get any ice get any oil or solvents or anything, any dirt that's built up off of them. But that is how you install a, let's see, we can prop this up here a little bit. That's how you install the Talon grip on the Springfield XDs. Job came out good. One little mistake by me, but otherwise looks like a perfect fit. Very happy with it. I think it's going to work nicely.